think it happens a lot, and I know a lot of people try to avoid that failure, but sometimes you can't, sometimes it happens, and even if you give it your all, sometimes you're just going to fail. But I think I remind myself that failing something and getting rejected at something is sometimes a redirection into something. There's always another path that's coming from that failure. So I think it's also just to keep reminding yourself that a failure doesn't mean it's a definite, like, okay, this is done. Sometimes you just got to keep going and try different things. And a failure doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It doesn't mean that you can't do something. Sometimes you just have to take the lesson that comes with it and keep going.
Hey, I'm Dr. Carra, the host of the Paws Effect Podcast. This podcast is all about bridging the gap between pet owners and pet professionals, offering expert insights and sharing stories to help you better understand and care for your pets. Whether you're here to learn, to be inspired, or to simply feel more confident as a pet owner, you're in the right place. If you enjoy what you hear, please take a moment to subscribe, leave me a review, or share the episode with someone who could benefit. Your support helps this podcast grow and continue making a difference in the lives of pets and their people. Let's get to it. So, well, welcome, Taylin. Welcome back to Your Pets. It's changed a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's really amazing what's happened over the last few years.
So I'm going to give a little bit of context to the listeners. You started your journey here.
Yes.
Because you wanted to be a vet.
Yes, it's been my dream from the day one.
Yeah. And now you are studying veterinary. And in fact, you just completed your third year.
Yes, so I'm fourth year next year, which is crazy.
I can actually get goosebumps with that because I can't believe how quickly it's gone.
Yeah, even me. I mean, it was just yesterday I was here, literally a high school student working at reception, and now I'm in fourth year. It's crazy how time flies.
And your journey hasn't been straight to go and into vet school. You had a bit of a detour like I did, in fact. And so relatable because... and I suppose we'll talk about this. It's not that easy to get into vet school.
For sure.
And some of the requirements means that it filters out a lot of people who would be phenomenal vets.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned anyway.
Yes.
So tell us why you wanted to be a vet. Let's start with that.
I think my mum always tells me from when I could speak, I've just always wanted to be a vet. I've loved animals and I've been fascinated with medicine and science, and I don't know what it was, but it just something clicked and I was like, okay, I'm going to be a vet. And this was around age 8, 9, and it's just always been a dream. So the fact that I'm doing this now is just crazy. But like you mentioned, it's really difficult to get into veterinary science, especially in this country where there's only one faculty. And unfortunately, I wasn't really that good in high school. My marks weren't really what you need to get into vet. But I kept trying and kept applying and ended up doing a BSc in zoology before I actually got admitted to study veterinary science. So, and that's the studying of animals. So it's really anything animal related has always just been a dream of mine. So it's really awesome that I get to do that now.
Yeah, and your first degree was such a perfect setup for vet school.
And it really helped me get an idea of what university was like and how to manage my studying, what works for me, what doesn't. Yeah. I made some really awesome friends. So I think it was really helpful to actually get that degree before I got in straight away. And I know a lot of my peers in my year now actually have also had scenic routes, like I like to call it. Some of them have had whole careers, some of them have different degrees, not even relating to animals. So it's really awesome that that's even an option to get into vet, to have a scenic route.
And I think the level of maturity, and I'm sorry to refer because it sounds patronizing and I don't mean it like that, but so I also didn't go directly to vet school despite wanting to be a vet. And I did a chemistry degree, which also, you try and get something that's going to first be a platform for you to then apply for vet school. But like you said, I was a student. I got to be a student and live that student lifestyle, which I'm sure most parents who are listening most students who are out there know what that means. And we all sort of sit going, oh my goodness. But I think it's really important because then when you get to the point of being in vet school, like you say, you've developed so many skills, but you've also developed maturity in terms of I still want to do this. I know that this was an impulsive thing. It's not because I'm academically bright. And, when you kind of looking at kids who are academically, you're going, okay, you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or a vet or, all the things that are hard to get into and are therefore, So definitely there's so many skills that you gain doing a degree first.
Of course. Even with like the level of work that you're handed when you start vet school, there's a lot of content, it's a lot of pressure, a lot of species that we need to learn. I found it very overwhelming and a lot to adjust to. But I think having that degree for me personally really helped learn what works for me with my studying, what doesn't. And it's really helped given me, I think, a bit of a confidence boost as well, that I can do that, so I can do this. And yeah, it's been really, really cool.
Yeah, I like reflecting back, chatting to you. I just remember that sheer volume, that volume of work. So, I mean, it's not necessarily that it's technically difficult. There are difficult subjects, but that kind of managing and being able to retain a lot of information and being able to filter through what you really need to know.
Yes.
And then, so then knowing that when you qualify, it's actually trying to put the application
yes, of
to
course.
that and starting all over again. So let's talk about the typical thing that most students, I'm going to get it over and done with. Yes, kitty cat. Let's talk about the question that most people want to ask a vet student, and that is, what kind of veterinary work are you going to do? Is it difficult to tell now? Do you know what you want to do?
Obviously, I feel like a lot of people have a preconceived idea of what they want to do. A lot of my friends that I speak to are, no, I'm doing horses, it's set in stone. Other people are really set in doing something more out there like wildlife. But actually, a lot of my friends and myself included, my mind has always changed. I'm always, okay, I want to do this, then I want to do that. And right now, I'm kind of set on small animals. But the nice thing about studying to be a vet is that it's so diverse. There's so many different species that we get taught. I mean, cattle, horses, pigs, the dogs and cats. So it's really exciting what's out there, like the opportunities that you can go into. But I think, for me personally, I think small animals is something that's really exciting to me and something that I want to pursue further, as well as wildlife. I might want to do something like that. But there's a lot of choices.
And then that means a lot to learn.
Yes.
Because, obviously.
And it's all so exciting. I feel like if you love animals, you get to learn so much about them. And it's, okay, well, maybe I do want to do horses. Maybe I do want to do everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm now doing a master's in animal nutrition. And one of the things I found is now doing small animal work, how frustrated I get when I'm taught about, say, ruminants, about cattle. I'm like, this is just not relevant to what I'm wanting to do or I'm currently doing. And I think maintaining that open mind means that it's easier to absorb the work and do the work rather than being resentful and going, I know this is not what I'm going to do. I don't want to see horses. I'm not interested in it.
Yeah.
So to actually go with that approach is really beneficial to say, listen, I
course.
may use this. And there are plenty of, one of our vets started in equine, thought that's what her career was going to be. And so having the ability to change your mind, I think is such a benefit.
And it's helpful to actually have that mindset. And I find myself at times when it's very stressful to think things like, this is so much work. I wish there was less to learn. But if you look at it, it's actually so incredible that there is all this information to learn and that one day I can be a vet to any animal that might need help. So I think it is definitely, it's good to have that mindset of, regardless of what vet you are one day, I think you can do anything if you really want to.
Yeah, and you've proven that. You definitely were very determined.
Yeah, of course.
So, when you reflect back, you can remember even being here, we were like, Taylin, please, are you sure you want to be a vet?
Yes.
The hours are long, the pay is not that good.
Yes.
It's very stressful. Don't you want, you're a really bright young woman. Do you not want to pursue and have pets rather than be a vet? How did you respond to that kind of advice at the time?
I think even now, I'm not sure why it's so important to me, because all the hardships that I know that come with being a vet, I think even from my years of shadowing, I've seen all the hardships and difficulties that will come with it. For me, the reward of helping an animal just feel better and the feeling of reuniting a sick animal with its owner, that feeling to me has always been more important. So I think whenever I get asked that question, whenever I think about it, I always just tell myself that any hardships that I will encounter, I think will be worth it because of the amazing work that I'll be able to do. I'll be able to help animals, help people. So I think it's just reminding myself of why I'm doing it in the first place, and it's for the animals and to help them.
Yeah. So I obviously didn't qualify at Onderstepoort, but it's got a phenomenal reputation. And I know that the degree that you end up with is going to set you up for being able to work anywhere in the world. Yeah. We're obviously losing a lot of South African vets. What is the general discussion that happens amongst you and your peers as to where you want to work and the sort of the route after qualifying? What's the the general consensus for people?
I think a lot of my friends that I've spoken to are excited with the opportunities that come with being a vet. I think there's so much out there, and especially overseas, there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of different animals. And there is the reality of what is available in this country and what is available somewhere else. So I think there is a lot of talk about moving overseas once qualifying. But I do know a lot of people that actually want to stay in South Africa, especially with our wildlife, with our conservation, and with just it being home. I think there's also like a fair balance, I think, of wanting to stay here and wanting to see what everywhere else has to offer, I think.
And travel and see the world.
Yes, of course.
And that's one benefit of, as long as generally an English-speaking country, that you can work in different countries and earn a living. And we've had some vets who've gone off to Hong Kong and obviously the UK and Australia and the ability to travel and potentially earn in a currency that then allows them to come back and set up a life.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, a lot of the reason why people consider also maybe leaving the country is to just help, I think, financially. It's very important.
Hey there, pet parents. It's Dr. Carra, the ultra pet vet here. Brachycephalic, meaning short-muzzled dogs, have uniquely shaped jaws that can make picking up and chewing normal kibble really difficult. That's why UltraPet has created a kibble specifically designed for easy pickup. It contains glucosamine, chondroitin, and green lip muscle extract to help support your dog's joints so that they stay mobile and active. The inclusion of beet pulp and prebiotics helps support a healthy gut by promoting the growth of beneficial bacteria in the digestive system. Omega-3 and 6 fatty acids promote a shiny coat and a healthy skin. UltraPet offers 100% money-back guarantee. Try UltraPet's premium recipe for short-muzzled dogs today. So let's talk about the financial load on being a student, especially for this period of time. How do you manage it? Obviously, it's not a short degree. You've done one degree before.
Yes.
And it's got to be funded somehow. And it's not just university fees. It's living costs. It's books. It's excursions.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot.
I think I'm very grateful that I have two very hardworking parents that are able to support me and fund my accommodation, my studies, anything that I might need. But I know with the university, there are a lot of opportunities to get student loans and bursaries and things like that. So I think there is a wide variety, especially like with my friends. I know a lot of people, some are being funded completely by their parents, some are using the student loans. So I think there's definitely a lot out there depending on whatever your situation is. But I'm very, very lucky that my parents have given me the go-ahead to do this degree now.
And what's the pressure like? Because we were laughing off air, sort of saying about living the student life, and saying about partying.
Yes.
And I actually remember a conversation, and my parents laugh at it now, but them phoning and they go like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm in the library." Meanwhile, I was on my way out for an evening of not partying but socializing. What is the pressure like in terms of I know your parents are going to probably listen to this podcast conversation, but it does, when it's self-funded, obviously there's pressure because it's taken a lot to come this far.
For sure.
But does it make it really difficult for you that when you've got an exam coming up, and not only do you have exam pressure, you've got the fear of disappointing your parents,
yes, of course.
people who are giving up a lot too.
Yes, there is that pressure. And I think, especially with my background in getting another degree before I was able to start studying veterinary sciences, I want to do well. I want to make my parents proud and I want to achieve what I know I can achieve. But I think it also really helps to have that support in place from my family, from my parents, to know that I'm doing the best that I can. And I think like what they always tell me, work hard, play hard. So I make sure that I rest and take care of my mental health, because that's a really big thing that's pushed at Ondersteput, is taking care of yourself. So I think the pressure isn't as bad as it seems to me personally, because of that support I get, and because I also focus just as hard on my mental health and how I view myself, as well as my marks and my hard work.
That's really good to hear. That really is good to hear, because there was very little of that when I was studying. And obviously we saw the fallout associated with, burnout and increased suicide rate and whatnot. And that's good to hear that there is that additional support happening at the level of the degree. So what's generally the kind of advice that they're giving you? She's so naughty.
wants to
She's
say
looking
something.
for an excuse to dig her claws into your leg. So what is the kind of advice that they're giving you regarding managing your time off and your time away from work?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I know the faculty tries to talk to us about is reaching out for help, especially like with exam seasons. I know a lot of the time it's really difficult with the volume of work and the stress and the pressure that comes with studying something like this. It can get a lot and very overwhelming. So reaching out to your friends, to a professional, a therapist, your family, and I think also just tackling imposter syndrome. I feel like that's something that's really, really big, and it directly affects your mental health. If you believe that you can't do it or that you're not supposed to be there, it can get a bit difficult to kind of manage that stress. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, work hard and play hard, taking breaks, doing something you enjoy, physical activity, I think it's just as important to be reminded of that, because you can work as hard as you like, but if you don't take time to take a break and take care of yourself, then it's not sustainable with continuing a very long degree like studying veterinary science, I think.
And a long profession, because that kind of behavior sets you up for behaving like that. And I mean, one, so I've got to be careful how I word this, but the older generation of vets will probably be like, oh, in our day, we didn't go like, oh, but I need my lunch break. And I mean, there is a bit of give and take in that there are, that generally the younger vets are now saying, in order for this to be sustainable, I need to be able to get adequate rest, for example, or I need to be able to step away in the middle of the day and go and eat something healthy.
Yes.
And I was thinking back to the days when I first qualified, and my first employer would make sure that there was enough cake and chocolate biscuits around, because that would mean that we would work through our lunch. And from a perspective of like first health, secondly like sugar overload and burnout, that's how we got through the day. It was just to eat, and then you go and sleep and you start your day again. So I do appreciate. She's going to bite you. She's so naughty.
Okay.
Zena, let's shoo her off.
Loves me too much.
Yeah. She does this. She does this with your sister too. Kick her out. I think I'm really relieved to hear that is something that you are putting as part of your daily
definitely
life.
I think it's very important, because I think it's actually more challenging sometimes than the academic work is managing the stress that comes with studying something like this, because it's also you're studying something so that you can take care of animals, and there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. You want to be able to help them all and know everything, but sometimes, you're not going to be able to do that. So managing that, I think, has really been helpful for me, is to just understand that even before I'm in clinics or actually practicing, since I'm only going into fourth year now, I think just understanding that has been really helpful moving forward, I think, studying this degree.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a special degree to study, because the friendships that you form over that period of time are like lifelong friendships, aren't they? Because when you suffer adversity with these.
We're all crying together, laughing together. It's great.
But it's also a very competitive environment, isn't it?
Yes.
So how do you manage that amongst your friends? Because sorry, I've got to talk about my experiences in the sense that so my son's recently had exams. He's that's all Charlie, and he says but nobody else is studying. Everybody says they haven't done anything. And I said, let me introduce you to the world where everyone says they haven't done anything, and behind the scenes they're working really hard. Yeah, that's still a thing.
Yeah, of course.
And how do you? I mean, amongst your group of friends, obviously you know what your friends do, but how do you manage that competitive environment?
Yeah, I think naturally we are all very competitive people, having gotten into something like this, and we all really want to do well and we want to do the best that we can. But I think we are all very hardworking people. I think to study veterinary science, you have to have an element of like, okay, I need to knuckle down and get this done. So I think that kind of helps us keep to our own goals and our own, okay, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve this. But one of the big things with studying veterinary science is there's a lot of group work and a lot of teamwork in our assignments. I think like this past year now, we have done quite a few, and presentations and projects, hands-on projects. I think that really helps us work together more and kind of dull down any competitiveness that might be there, because we put into different groups of different people and we all have to come together to get a grade and do well. And I think that's really helped, I think, and I can see it with my peers is that we all just got to do the best that we can and look out for each other. And now that we are in the course, I think it's important to just remember that we can only try and be competitive with ourselves really and achieve our own goals.
That's really great advice. And I mean, it's things have changed dramatically, because it was very much like an isolated, and you felt both the imposter thing, but also very alone in your studies. So the fact that it has become a collective thing, because that's often where people find themselves now, is in practice or needing to be able to reach out and being able to ask for help and appreciating other people's strengths and bringing what you can to a team is something that will stand you in good stead.
Yeah, and I feel practice. Like a lot of people that apply to be a vet student or that want to be a vet student are always focused on the animal aspect of, I want to work with animals, I want to help with animals. But now, having done some shadowing and having studied veterinary science for a few years, I can see it's actually a lot of people. Like, you have to work with a lot of people, and whereas it like clients or your colleagues, there's a lot of people aspect that I think a lot of people don't really expect. They just expect it to be a lot of animals, but it's been really helpful, I think, learning and growing as I've been studying to experience that, working with different people in groups. And I know when I'm a vet one day, it's going to be important to also work with the clients and be able to have a good relationship with people as well as their animals.
I love this conversation, and it's so relevant, because if we can apply this to just general life, I think we'll all take something home, because we kind of get lost in that destination thing, like I'm going to be a vet, at the end of this month, I'm just trying to get to this point, and actually appreciating the experience in the moment and having the collaborative approach is really, building relationships that are going to last forever.
Of course.
And in terms of the people and the diverse people that you are spending your time with, are there a lot of international students, or are they mostly local?
So there's mostly local people, but I know in my year there are quite a few people from overseas that have come to South Africa to study, because Onderstepoort is just such a well-known faculty. So that's been really nice, I think, to have that diversity. I've met some people who are from overseas, and it's really interesting, I think, and wonderful that people would want to come to our country to study veterinary science here.
Yeah. And what would you say has been the hardest thing about this degree?
I think the hardest thing is you're going to see a lot of animals that are in pain, a lot of animals that are really sick, and when you're studying veterinary science, your goal is to help them and help them get better. And I think when you are third year, when you're fourth year, you're not quite there yet at a practicing level. And I find myself getting quite overwhelmed with, I just want to go. I just want to go and be a vet, and I want to help animals. But I think it's just reminding myself that you're going to see things that are a bit hard to see, and you will one day get there. But I think that really.
And your advice to people who want to pursue this as a degree, what would you say to your former self?
I think I would say, if you want to be a vet and you have that passion, keep going. Don't give up. I was so close to giving up so many times when applying, and I thought I wasn't supposed to be a vet because my marks weren't good enough, and there were so many things that I was thinking at the time, but I kept going, and now I'm here. So if there are challenges in your way, if your marks aren't good, but you have that passion, just keep going and get as much shadowing experience as possible. Reach out to vets in your area and go and see what it's like. Ask vets, talk to them, and keep going. If you have that passion, you'll get there.
And let's talk about managing failure.
Yes.
Because it's inevitable.
It happens. It happens a lot.
How do you as an individual cope with it when it doesn't go quite to plan?
I think it happens a lot, and I know a lot of people try to avoid that failure, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes it happens, and even if you give it your all, sometimes you're just going to fail. But I think I remind myself that failing something and getting rejected at something is sometimes a redirection into something. It's a lesson. So if I fail a test that I've been working really hard at, it's sometimes a reminder to go, okay, well, let's look at the bigger picture. Maybe I've been studying this wrong, and then I change and it works out. Or if I don't get something that I really wanted to, or something doesn't work out, there's always another path that's coming from that failure. So I think it's also just to keep reminding yourself that a failure doesn't mean it's a definite, like, okay, this is done. Sometimes you just got to keep going and try different things. And a failure doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It doesn't mean that you can't do something. Sometimes you just have to take the lesson that comes with it and keep going.
And I mean, speaking along those lines, how many people generally, just an impression wise, because obviously I know you can't diagnose people, but how many of your colleagues do you feel suffer with mental health issues?
I think a lot of them. I think it's funny to me, but I think no matter what your background or no matter how you got into vet or who you are, I think it's a general thing. I think we all have moments where the stress and the burnout, especially during exam season, it gets a lot. And the imposter syndrome, like I mentioned earlier, it's very real and it's very overwhelming. So it's definitely, I think, why it's an important thing to talk about is everyone is affected by mental health and, the fear of not being good enough and failure and things like anxiety and depression. It's real and it can affect your life as a student, your life as a vet. So I think it is definitely very important, and it's pretty much in a lot of people that I've spoken to. It's something that we all actively work at just as much as our academics.
That's I'm so relieved to hear that. Because definitely we want healthy vets who are enjoying the position, but also, have good boundaries and know how to ask for help if they need. Because other things get in the way. Life happens, and not on top of having your job, you've got relationships and
it's a lot to juggle.
It's a lot to juggle. So in terms of pet owners, if you could tell pet owners anything to allow them to get a bit of an insight into what it's taken to be a vet and what drives you to be a vet, what would you like them to know?
I think it's taken a lot of dedication, a lot of passion, and a lot of resilience. I think with my journey, I've been given a lot of failures, a lot of no's, a lot of redirections, but that passion for animals has always been there. That drive to be a vet has always been there. So I think, dedication and drive, I think, has been a constant for me. And I feel like if you have that dedication and drive, then that's all you need. You can do anything if you just hang on to that and focus on that as your goal. Like, okay, well, I have this resilience in me. I've been given another failure. It's okay. I'll get there eventually.
And for owners who feel that, and it's very few, it's not, but they have a huge impact on us, the owners who feel that vets are in it for the money. Yes. Can you clarify why that is potentially just so far removed from the truth?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking to see that and hear about that, because it really is so far from the truth. I feel like money is the last thing that vets will think of, and I know my peers and I, as when we're studying now, it's not something we think of. We're not sitting in class going, I can't wait until I'm a vet making all this money. We're constantly talking about, I can't wait to make animals feel better. I can't wait to reunite sick pets with their owners. So it's definitely something that's so far from the truth. And I think it's important to talk about it, because I know a lot of people are quick to say that vets are just all about the money. But
you have no compassion.
Yeah, no compassion. Whereas I think truly the compassion is what's rooted in us. And because it's such a complicated and difficult degree to study and profession to do, I feel like you have to have that compassion and drive to do it, because, we care about the animals so much. So money, it's not important, I don't think.
Well, the investment in getting you to the point of qualifying has been huge. And like you say,
sure.
some of the way that these students are talking about being able to pay off student loans or reimburse their parents, or at least, sort of set their lives up. It means that we are losing vets to other countries because it is difficult.
For sure.
The pay is not just suddenly
it's
turning up in a nice car.
Yeah.
And you obviously now are going into fourth year. What does that mean? So what have you got ahead?
So fourth year, I have a lot of studying to do. It's a lot of learning from my peers that have just completed their fourth year. It's apparently a lot of information and a lot of practical information now, applying this knowledge, because in 5th year and 6th year, I start clinics. So this will kind of be my final year of really sitting in a lecture hall and learning and being taught all sorts of different things, from equine studies to small animal medicine and surgery. So I'm very excited. I think it's going to be a really interesting and difficult year, but I'm ready for it.
Yeah, you're certainly very determined and very good. I can't wait. And I will blink again and it'll be like it's been this time. It'll be the end of your degree and we'll be chatting about where you're going to end up, hopefully back home.
Yes.
But in the meantime, obviously, it's so nice that we get the opportunity to see you for seeing practice and support you, because it's what a great thing that you finally managed to get into vet school, because if there was anybody who was determined and deserving of the position, it was you. I mean,
thank you.
And I think that is also from the fact that we can say we didn't get into vet school at 18, 19. That if you do want to do it, yes, fine, go and do something else that's relevant. It's wonderful to take that scenic route.
Oh, of course.
But don't let that put you off, because if you've got that calling and you want to be a vet, then
you'll get there.
And it's okay to study when you're slightly older. And I think actually it makes it.
Yeah, and a lot of my peers that I've spoken to that have also taken a scenic route, some are even older than I am, they had the best time. And I mean, if I could take it back, I wouldn't change anything. No. I would keep my scenic route, and it's given me a lot of insight and friends and memories. So yeah, for sure, it's not the only way to get into vet. I think straight from school, no matter who you are and where you are in your life, you can get in if you are really determined to.
Well, I wish you all the best.
Thank you
with next year and the next few years ahead. But it's been so nice to catch up with you. And well done, honestly.
Thank you, Doctor.
I know that you're not just doing okay, you're doing really well.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, a little bit of a sort of catch up from your family. So we know what you're up to. But you're really excelling. And so keep it up and keep enjoying it. And I really love the fact that you've come in and spoken about looking after other aspects, not just, striving for academic sort of excellence, that you're going to be far more well-rounded than possibly we were when we qualified.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very important. So thank you so much for talking to me. I think Hillcrest Veterinary Hospital has been amazing with my journey. I remember shadowing when I was 16. And
16?
I was 16 and I was looking at practice thinking, oh my word, this is what I want to do. So to be back here as an almost 4th year vet student, it's a crazy feeling. It's very, very overwhelming.
And there's been a lot a change.
It's been a lot.
We have to. It's a bit like, the changes within the degree program. We have to be adapting. We've cat friendly now in terms of splitting the dogs and cats. And
But I think that change is so necessary, and it's so good because there's a lot of exciting things that come with it. So
and we're always learning and always trying to progress.
Yeah.
Otherwise we won't attract phenomenal new vets like you.
Thank you.
So all the best and have a good break.
Thank you. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Looking forward to home cooking.
Yes.
And being
reading a book again.
Yeah, reading a book that's not a vet book.
Notes. Yeah. So excited.
We speak about this time of year, and I always used to get this funny feeling at this time of year, and sort of exam time. And I'd be like, I've got to stop this. I'm not actually doing any exams. But it sits with you because you're so used to
that's me
having exams.
Literally, driving home now back to Durban from Pretoria, I was looking at the road and I saw some toxic plants that we've just been taught, and I was thinking, okay, well, that has this poisonous principle. And it's like, no, Taylin, you're on holiday now.
You can just empty that brain.
Take a break.
Yeah, my son says as soon as his exams are over, he's like, I couldn't sit that exam again. I wouldn't know anything. I'm like, no, you would. You're in a different frame of mind.
Yeah,
and it's healthy. So I hope you read a nice, cheap novel.
Oh, thank you. That's the plan.
Yeah, eat some good food at home. I know you're going to be pampered.
For sure.
It's lovely to see you.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode on the Paws Effect Podcast. If you found the discussion helpful, please like, share, and follow our podcast. Don't forget to leave us a comment or review. We love hearing from our listeners. Remember, you can listen to us on your preferred podcast platform. Welcome back to Just for Pets. You're with Dr. Carra.
Hello, Doctor. It's Chanel the Persian. And, I can't seem to stop retching to get this hairball up.
Are you on a special diet?
Excuse me?
Hairball control food will really help, and maybe some Laxapet. And lucky for you, Just for Pets have a big range.
Well, how early can I get some?
Order today, and we'll deliver pronto.
Wow, I feel better already.
Justforpets.co.za. Vet approved, pet adored. Get it all to your door.